Let's get into some shite. Friends, this is Rick. Welcome to Apocalyptic. Thank you for joining me. This is it's a weird week. It's going to get weirder. I'm if you've listened to the podcast, you know I'm closing down my gallery, and so all of my time is taken up. I'm squeezing in podcasts in between it, but these next 2 weeks are going to get worse. It's crazy. I can promise one show a week. I think. I don't know that I can do two always. I'm still trying. I missed last week. I meant to do it. But my time, it's getting crazy. So just 2 weeks. Let's just hang on for 2 weeks. Now, I have a question here. In 2 weeks, I have a lot of extra time. So I don't know. I don't really want to tweak the format of the podcast, at least not too much. All right. I kind of like what's happening. I like where we're going. And if you don't, that's fine. There's gazillion podcasts out there for you to listen to. If you enjoy this, and there's some things I want to do that I haven't done. I've talked about it. I want to do more interviews. I think I'll have a chance to do that coming up. I don't even know who. I know what I'm interested in, but I don't know. I mean, celebrity interviews are kind of cool. But I just find that interviews with interesting people are more interesting, right? So it doesn't have to be somebody that everybody knows, I don't think. Just somebody who has who does something interesting, who has an interesting point of view, who I don't know, makes interesting things. Don't you think? Don't you think that's good? I like that idea. Just something we can all kind of listen to and go, ooh, if you do that. But I think that's what I want to do. And I'm hoping I can bring in some, I wouldn't say celebrities. I'm not going to get George Clooney on the show. George is not going to call me up and say, I want to be on your show. Pretty sure he's not. But, I might get a comic. I might get an author. I might get an actor. They're Atlanta. Man, they do movies here. They're shooting movies. There's some celebrities that hang out here, musicians that hang out here. So, I could get them on the podcast. But I don't think, I'm not going to get any major celebrities. Do I want to do that? I don't want to put people on the podcast just because they're a celebrity. I don't think that's not a good reason for being on. They could be on, there's plenty of podcasts and plenty of shows to be on. If you're going to be on this show, you should have something interesting to say, right? You do something interesting, and people should want to listen. But I don't know. Should I tweak what if every once in a while I just do a conceptual show? So what I was thinking is the Monday or the early shows, which we'll call it right now, the early shows, just this show, just traditional, regular, our standard podcast shows, and then Thursday would be when we do potentially do interviews, and then maybe I'll just do something a little different. Maybe I'll just read a story. Maybe I'll tell a story. Maybe it'll just be something kind of different. I like that idea. It's not totally developed, but it's something I was thinking from the very beginning of the podcast. I haven't had time to do it yet, but maybe now we will. What do you think of that? Is that cool? I do want to thank my friend, our good friend, Gary, who now here's the thing about Gary. Gary's listened to every podcast that I've done, and I do appreciate it. So he listened to the Life in a Kilt podcast, This Epic Disaster, and now, from what I understand, he's listening to this. We'll see how long. I hope I can keep him going on the podcasts. But Gary wrote me, and he responded to, I think it was last week when I was talking about grape ice cream. I can't find the grape ice cream, and where the heck is it? And so he sent me an article which I found very interesting. And I read it, and then I decided the article was kind of full of crap. Not anything to do with what Gary sent. I just feel like I didn't like the explanation. So here's what it said. They can't make grape ice cream for several reasons. One, the color of the grapes. So they have trouble matching the color of the grapes. I think when it goes through processing, it loses the color. And I'm guessing that the ice cream just kind of comes out sort of a yucky gray color, maybe slightly purple or blue, but probably mostly gray, maybe black. Probably looks like, that's, the look of snow when it's been out for a while by the road and it just turns black and you get like snow cream, black snow cream, licorice. No one wants to eat it. So I have a feeling that's what it probably looks like. So they can't do that. They say they can't do that. And the second thing is, they say there's an acid in grapes that won't freeze correctly, and it keeps the ice cream from making the consistency that ice cream needs to be at, and it doesn't work. It like dissolves things, and it makes ice crystals. It just doesn't come out to be a smooth cream like it needs to be. And those are the main reasons why they say it doesn't work. And I call bullcrap. I say that's not good. I don't believe that. And no, I don't believe it for several reasons. First of all, if people enjoy grape things, if they wanted to release grape ice cream, they would just do a duplicate. They don't even put real flavor in it. Or they would do artificial flavor, and then they would put a little tiny bit of just like pure grape juice flavor in it and then say it has grape juice in it. That's what they do. But mostly it'll be artificial. And the label would say artificial and natural flavors. That's what they do. And the color means nothing. They do artificial color on everything. So why is it that they can't do it for the grape ice cream? They can't do fake grape stuff. They say they can't. It can't be done. Okay, then do it fakely, right? I mean, get grape candy. Do you think it has real grape stuff in it? No. Grape popsicles. I mean, there are some 100% juice grape popsicles. Those are good. But there's also fake ones. So just why not make some fake? Just do a little fake grape ice cream, and they could put little chunks of real grape if they want to, maybe some grape skins, just sprinkle it, like so it looks kind of like the chocolate chips or something. They could do that and put some artificial purple color in there if they wanted to. They don't want to. For whatever reason, they don't want to do it. And I think that's a problem. They mentioned the fact that Ben & Jerry's at one point tried to make some grape ice cream and it didn't do well in the testing. People didn't like it. Okay, well, just because you screwed it up, Ben & Jerry, doesn't mean that it can't be done. You make some good ice cream, Ben, Jerry. Good ice creams happen from your factory, but maybe you did it wrong. Can you just admit that? Do something else? Let's try it again, okay? I want some grape ice cream. In my mind, it works. They did mention that cherry ice cream is made, and it's a lot like grape. I mean, there's a lot of high water content and everything. The acidity level is the same, close to it anyway. It's kind of the same, but they still do it. And then they say it's because more people like it. So that boils it down. That's what it's saying. It's not saying it can't be done. It's saying more people like it, so they take the extra effort to make it. And they're afraid to try it on grape. So I don't buy it. I appreciate Gary sending me the information so I can use my own valuable and wise judgment to do a call and say it's bullcrap. I still say someone, and here's what will happen. Someone will do it. They even mention, they say, several little boutique ice cream places will make it. So it can be done. They said they'll make it. It doesn't store well, so they make it, and then people eat it. And that's the thing. It can't be mass produced. They can't figure out how to do it cheaply. That's what it is. But I want them to do it. I want them to get on that. If they would, please, for me. Hey, we have a listener line here, 678-348-0008. Someone's been calling that line and hanging up, and I can't find out who it is. I think it's a sales call. I really do. I get those all the time. And whatever, that's okay. But you can call and leave a message. You can talk about grape ice cream if you want. Talk about whatever you want. Leave a message. I'll put it on the podcast, unless you ask me not to. But you can also text that same number, 678-348-0008, and I'll read your text on the air. That'll happen. Or send me an email, rick@apocalyptic.com. I did a search for apocalyptic on Google, and it's still not showing up. They think you're misspelling apocalyptic, and it's not apocalyptic, it's apocalyptic. And I knew when I named the podcast that I was going to have trouble, but I didn't know I was going to have trouble all this time later. But yeah, still, it's not showing up. They think we're idiots. We don't know how to spell the podcast name. So we're officially, I think this, if I'm not mistaken, I don't remember, I'll have to look it up. We're either episode 53 or 54, which means officially we've done over a year's worth of podcast if you're going by weeks, and I've done 2 a week. So I'm not specifically going by weeks. But we're up pretty high. That's a lot of podcasts in the short amount of time that I've been doing this show. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope it brings you some kind of enjoyment and interesting things. And I talk about different things, some things you might not be interested in, like this one, like this topic, one of my favorite topics. This wasn't a topic I had picked out. I just saw a video. So I'm going to just comment on the video. Why not? There was it's a Facebook video. It just popped up. I don't even know why it popped up. And I don't know who the person was. And this is not a slam against any specific religion. I'm kind of out of religion. I'm very interested in religion. I'm interested in the whole process of it, I suppose. But I'm not a religious person. I would consider myself a spiritual person. I don't like using that word because you have to explain it, because people, when you talk about that, people have in mind what it means. It's like the word God. I don't use that word. I don't like the name, because when I say it, it means what I think it means, and other people think it means what they mean. And you're talking about one thing, and other people think you're talking about some big white beard guy in the clouds, and that's not what I talk about. So I just feel like it's problematic. It has no meaning, at least not straight across regular meaning. If you say Santa Claus, almost everybody knows what you're talking about. They might have a different idea. They've heard a different story. There's a lot of differences that's going to happen, but they pretty much know what you're talking about. But if you talk about God, the variety of what that could mean to people, it takes it to a point where it just doesn't have a meaning. But the video I was watching was apparent, and I don't know who the person was. I apologize. But he was a self-proclaimed philosopher, and he was talking about how Christian philosophy has nowadays has surpassed atheistic philosophy, and Christian philosophers are so much better now than the atheist philosophers. And he's just going off. To me, he sounded like he was trying to convince himself or other people. All I know is, I'll be honest, I don't keep up with Christian philosophy. I used to back in the 80s when I was a young, very strong Christian. And I would read people like Josh McDowell and Kenneth Boa. And I don't remember all of the names. I've forgotten them now. Some of them made sense. Some of them just created more questions than they answered. But it was, at that time, it was very useful. It was very great. And basically, you only use those books to arm yourself if you get into an argument. Because really, I mean, why do you need to be a philosopher? Why do you need explanations and reasons to believe? Why do you need to have good arguments for the existence of something if it's subjective? If there's no way of I don't have to have an argument on the existence of my dad, that he existed in 1970. I don't need that. And I don't care how many people come to me and say that he never existed. He wasn't there. You're only imagining. I don't care who says that. It doesn't work, because I saw my dad. I experienced my dad. It's the only time you need to really argue against or for strongly, and you need all of these reasons, if there's no actual evidence or empirical experience with the thing. Otherwise, you just don't need it. So I don't need to waste my time with a lot of stuff. I don't know what you're trying to prove. Are you trying to prove the white bearded old man in the sky exists? What is it that exactly that you're calling God that you're trying to prove exists? I think that's what I would want to know first, not the existence or the non-existence, but what it is that you're calling God. Because I've said this, I've spent 10 years as an atheist, and I was happy. I was fine. I loved it. I have a lot of those qualities now. I don't consider myself an atheist, but I certainly don't consider myself a believer. But I experience something in my life that I'm comfortable with being not. I don't even want to put the label God on it. I would just say it is what it is. It's the essence, let's just say, the essence of the highest essence of life. And really, it's life itself. So when an atheist says they don't believe in God, or they want to challenge the belief in God or whatever, to me, that's very problematic, because you have to define what you're proving doesn't exist, right? You're just saying nothing exists that's God, nothing. Okay, what if I'm God? I exist. I'm right here. What if this is what I believe God is? You can't prove that I don't exist because I'm standing in front of you. You're talking to me. So now you have to prove that I'm not what God is, which means you have to take a position of what God is before you can prove that I'm not that, which means you have to have a God. It doesn't work. Here's the thing. Just stop trying to convince people on both sides. What difference does it make? Find out for yourself, okay? That's really all that matters, I think. But I know, so what I would say, and I'm not going to go deep into this. I will on one episode. We'll talk about it. I'd like to have a guest on the show to talk about it. But I'm comfortable with saying life is God. And you could say, oh, yeah, right. And it's like, no. Jesus said that. Jesus, I am the way, the truth, the life. Jesus said God is life. Life is God. That's all throughout the Bible. So life, now you have to say, what is life? And that's a great question. But I would say, for me, and then are you going to be an atheist and say life doesn't exist? No. So maybe if you're an atheist that's trying so hard to prove God doesn't exist, maybe you should stop a minute and just think, the God that you've been trying to prove doesn't exist, never existed, and that word perhaps doesn't mean what you think it means. Maybe you've been actually playing by the rules of people who believe. So I could say life is God. I'm very comfortable with that. I don't like saying it out loud. I'll say it to you people, you listeners. I don't mind talking and saying that to you because I'm explaining it, right? But I wouldn't just say it out to regular people, because as soon as I say life is God, they're going to think life is Jesus who lived 2,000 years ago, or life is Muhammad, or life is Buddha or Jehovah or whoever. And honestly, nobody knows what that is anyway. Nobody knows who Jehovah is. You read him in a book. What's the difference in Jehovah and Zeus? It's the same thing. It's these invisible characters that have a storyline. But we've all experienced life, right? How can you say you haven't experienced God if you've experienced life? Do you know what life is? No, you don't. I don't know what it is. I know I experience it, but I don't know what it is. So how am I supposed to go in and explain what it is? I can experience it. I can experience it on a deeper level. And what I've discovered as I've gotten older is that depth can keep going. It goes down layers and layers and layers. And you can experience things you don't know about life. And that's God enough for me, man. Why do you need more than that? But none of us can explain it. We don't know. We just experience. And we are that. We are nothing but life. We aren't. What else are you? Think about it. You're a life form. You're a form of life. But the form passes away. It dies. The form itself is not life. Life is inside the form. Life flows through the form. Life animates the form. And when the form is gone, none of us know that the life is gone. We don't see it in the form. But how do we know what happens? How do we know where the life goes? Do we know? We don't. None of us do. We're all a little bit agnostic in that way. But wasn't it Einstein that talked about how energy never really dies? It just kind of takes other forms. You can't kill energy. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not a physicist. I know it. Not a theologian either, right? I'm just observing. I'm just observing. And it's so weird when people try so hard to, because you know why? They're insecure. This is one of the things, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little, I need to kind of just get my thoughts together. One of the things that totally bugs me about Christianity, and I could say this because I used to embrace this part of it, is I loved those books on rational thinking and proving and philosophy and all of that. But it's usually like the same people who try to embrace that and want to know reasons why God exists. They want to know all of those kind of rational and reasonable. They're the same people who turn right around and say God is not reasonable. You can't. They just wipe reason out. You can't think about God. You don't need a brain. It's just like they're anti-reason. They're anti-education when it comes to God, except when they need to use it. All right. I'm not angry. I'm not bitter. It's just an observation. I've been out of Orthodox religion for a long time. And I think I told this story before. I'll tell it again. 21, 22? I think I was 22 when I was having, I didn't know it was meditation then, but I'm going to call it meditation now, knowing what meditation is. But now I went to a Southern Baptist college. I was pretty conservative. I wanted to be a Southern Baptist pastor. And I was at a point where things just weren't working for me. I think the initial thing that kind of kicked me out of Orthodoxy was Jerry Falwell and what he was doing with the moral majority during the Reagan era, trying to turn Christianity into a political movement, to use politics to persuade people to vote for them. And I hated that, and I thought it was horrible, and it really it turned me away from Christianity, probably forever. But I can remember at 22, I just remember I was having a silent moment, just sort of pondering things, and I just had this feeling that I didn't know anything. I couldn't, you can't prove it. There it is in the Bible. How do you know that the Bible is true? I was just like, there's nothing I can hang on to anymore. I can't keep any of it. So I'm throwing it all out. That's just what I said. It's gone. I'm tossing it everything in religion and spirituality. I'm tossing out, and we'll see if it comes back. But I imagined, I just said, I'm going to keep God. And I imagined like me resting in the hand of God. I know that's metaphorical, but that's what I thought of. Like I was sitting in the hand of God. It was like nothing else. I'm not going to have anything else. I'm just going to be right here inside God's hand. And it took another, 25 years before I had to throw God away too. And that's, I did a podcast on that about if you're going to do it. I think I did a podcast on it. Maybe it's a different podcast. You got to throw it all out. You got to get rid of nothing. You can't have it all. And Jesus said that, you can't fill a cup that's already full. You got to empty it. Truth comes back. Whatever's true will come back. It might come back in a different form. If it doesn't come back, maybe it's not true. But, we've been conditioned for so many years that if we don't at least go through the motions and pretend that we know it all, we're going to go to hell and burn forever. It's just awful. So it took a long time for me to completely empty. And it was the best thing I ever did. I highly recommend it. It's a very insecure. I always said it felt like I was in a boat with no rudder, no paddle, no motor, no anything, just floating with no object, no direction. And it does feel that way. But who cares? Why not? Just float. What else you got to do? Float. It's good for you. But stop trying to prove old ideas, old things, old silly myths are true. Once you experience on a deep level of what God is, and I'm going to say life, once you experience life, who doesn't experience life? That's the secret. Everybody experiences God. We just don't know it. But once you start really knowing, oh, that's God, and you turn in and you just start getting deeper into it, you don't need philosophy anymore. No one needs to prove it. You need to prove that your white-bearded God exists. You know why? Because he doesn't. But real God, real life, real existence, real consciousness, real awareness, who needs to prove that exists? We deal with it every day. We all know. I don't need to prove delicious coffee exists. It's right here in my hands. That's some good stuff. My coffee of choice is Starbucks Cinnamon Dolce coffee. If you like cinnamon, I would highly suggest getting that. And I did put a little cream in it. Yeah, and stevia, and it tastes great, and I'm loving it. And if there is an existence, if there's proof of existence of God, that might very well be it. Although I am still in constant search for grape ice cream. I don't know if I'm going to find it. I don't believe in grape ice cream, but I feel I have faith. That's what it is. Faith!